Welcome to the Ladies Talk Show. This is your host, Leah Richheimer. We are in Chapter 7. Here's what you need to know. As these ideas start percolating in your brain and you start realizing, there's something to this appreciation bucket thing, okay? You have to realize I'm going to be going over 6 different strategies for how to get the appreciation you need. I don't know necessarily that you should start implementing them until you got all of them, because for some people, this one works great. For that one works great. And if you do one and it fails, you'll think, forget the whole thing. Whereas if you wait till you hear all of the strategies and you say, this one sounds like it'll work. What is it? You can only make a first impression once. So the first time you're trying it on your husband, you want to do it correctly. So, okay. So today we're going to start with our first strategy, but first I'm going to do a little bit of an introduction, and we are on Chapter 7, page 157. Ensuring that we are appreciated. And just as a woman is to be given a gift of jewelry or clothing for each of the 3 festivals, Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot, and cannot forgo them, likewise, she should not martyr herself and forgo the appreciation she must have to survive. Did you hear that, ladies? By the way, this is like so powerful. You cannot mavachi. You not say, it's okay, I don't need the jewelry. And jewelry could be a new sheitel, a new dress, you have to ask your what it is. But you cannot say, it's okay. He has to get them for you. You have to be able to receive them. Okay, fine. So she should not martyr herself and forgo the appreciation she must have to survive. If we could only get over the misguided truism that asking for appreciation is wrong, we'd be a lot more content. We are so appreciation deprived that we need to realize that asking it is the only way to ensure that our appreciation bucket will ever get filled to the brim. Also, for those of you who may be lucky enough to have a husband who appreciates you for certain things, these methods will help you get even more appreciation in other areas as well. Keeping your appreciation bucket filled can be a full-time job. That's fine. It will get easier over time, and routines will hopefully develop as well. Just do your best to stay motivated and to refrain from berating yourself or your husband for not doing it right. This is a grand experiment to make you happy. Did you hear that? To make you happy, okay? And every ounce of energy you expend working this out will come back to you and your family in a big way. If you feel selfish or manipulative about getting the appreciation you need, listen to this. In Sefer Nasam Adam, it says, naturally, people don't like to listen to someone else's opinion. The exception is that women naturally want to listen to their husbands, but only if the husband shows appreciation and recognizes and displays his feelings for the importance of what she is doing. We can learn from this that if we don't solicit the appreciation we need, we will listen to our husbands less and blessing will decrease in our home. Further, the Gemara says that a woman has a special fame, a charm in her husband's eye. The Pele Yoet adds, this sweetness endears her to her husband. These are God-given gifts to use for the betterment of our home life, and a big part of that is ensuring that we are appreciated. Yes. Okay, ladies, we're going to start with charm school strategies. We're going to start with getting them in so you know exactly what to do. And as I said, I'm going to give them to you, and it's going to take a couple of shows to get them through them all. So don't start probably until you get all of them under your belt. Okay, charm school strategies. So here are the practical tools you will need. I'm now going to share 6 methods to elicit appreciation from your husband. Understand that every couple is different, and you may really like one strategy, but find that it's not effective with your husband. Or what you might at first consider corny ends up working really, really well. It's all trial and error, and things may change with time as well. I also assume that that you're clever enough to mix and match to see what actually works, or maybe even invent your own strategies. Or one strategy may not work, but using parts of it combined with another strategy gets you the appreciation you need. That's the bottom line. Okay, let's get to it. Strategy number 1, the prompt method. This is the simplest method and works well if you and your husband already have good communication skills with each other. All you do is tell your husband exactly what you need to hear. Hear how it's done. You just say something to prompt his appreciation and he agrees with you. For example, wasn't the soup great tonight? Or did you notice I paid the bills? Or did you realize how stressful that situation was and I didn't complain the whole time? Beware, if you ask, how did you like the chicken? You risk your husband answering honestly. This is not the time for him to give you culinary tips. Telling you that you need to add more salt will not fill your bucket. This is not about soliciting his opinion or discovering what his preferences are. That's a separate issue for a different time. This is about taking care of you, which my students admittedly aren't very good at. So you need to start practicing this on an ongoing basis to make this into a new habit. The correct way to get the appreciation is to say something like, I'm really proud of that pie crust. It wasn't easy. Hopefully he'll get the hint to agree gracefully. And if not, at some point you can explain to him to get him on the right page. This is not about him being a phony. It's about informing him sweetly about what you have done for him so he can be grateful and, most importantly, praise you for it. Other things you might say are, did you realize I went to 3 shops to get you the spice you like? Did you realize I did double carpool today? Or even saying, remind me again how much you like the chocolate cake I made, right? Remind me again how glad you are that I took mom to the doctors. Don't be reticent about pointing out to your husband how wonderful you are. If you don't tell him, he may not realize it. You may think that fishing for compliments might be annoying to your husband, but in actuality, it will likely be such a relief for him to not have to always worry whether he's saying the right things to make you happy. What his approval may lack in spontaneity, it makes up for in spades by being exactly what we need to hear at the moment. And even more importantly, it will be a consistent source of appreciation, which is what we need more than anything. It does put a burden on us, and as we discussed, it feels a little less satisfying to have our husband agree with our own compliment rather than to think of it on his own. But it is far superior system than just waiting for appreciation that never comes. Just remember that our husbands wanting to please us is a greater sign of true love than his ability to read our minds. We need to learn to be thrilled that we have husbands who care enough to tell us exactly what we want to hear, even if we're telling him what to say. One of my students asked me, how on earth could it possibly be coming from his heart if I have to hint a compliment out of him? Here's a gorgeous but baffling secret that will carry you very far. It actually doesn't need to come from your husband's heart. As long as you will see soon enough, it truly is good enough that it comes out of his mouth. Further, as you begin to feel more appreciated, you will feel less angry and resentful. That in turn paradoxically frees up your husband to appreciate you even more because the pressure lessens. You will be getting practice at noticing your efforts and how to praise them successfully. There is nothing to lose by trying it, and as you make it part of your regular routine, you will begin to feel happier, and your husband will actually feel like his words are finally hitting their mark. Also, in all of the methods here, it often does feel better when our husband thinks of these ideas himself, rather than us having to be the one to prompt the appreciation out of him. But you will soon find out that it's far better to get a B-level appreciation all of the time, rather than getting an A+ appreciation only once every blue moon, which in no way could ever fill our bucket to our satisfaction and contentment. See for yourself how pleasing B's can truly be, getting a B on it can truly be, because they are steady and consistent and exactly what we need to hear at the exact moment we need to hear it. Okay, that was exercise. That was number 1, strategy number 1. We are looking for questions, and you just have to know this is a game changer. Whatever you're going on, whatever craziness that's going on in your life, understanding this and being able to get this filled is a real game changer in your own happiness. Frankly, if you learn nothing else from Marriage Secrets, if you learn that, we're good. Okay, what you got for me, Gayla? What are questions coming in?
Sounds great. Okay. Bracha asks, I tried to prompt appreciation by saying, did you notice how hard I worked to get you dinner on time? And he thought I was complaining about how hard I work and got offended and defensive. What did I do wrong?
Oh, what you did wrong, you didn't preempt. So when you're trying some of these strategies, some will work right off the bat. Your husband won't even know. For some women, you're going to do this and it's going to be seamless. You're going to start doing it and he's going to start complimenting you. You're going to be happier and he's going to be happier because you're happier and it's going to be all natural. And I would say that's maybe 25% of people. The other 75% of people have to actually sell their husband on this crazy idea. So, and you'll see in some of the other strategy I have, they're like, what? And you have to talk your husband into it. So for you, it sounds like you're in the 75% like the rest of us. And it's not what you did wrong. It's what you can do better in the future is you can say to him, oh, I want to talk to you about something. I just heard in a share in a class that I was in that a woman needs more appreciation than her husband's capable of giving. And they said the easy hack, the easy workaround of this is for a woman to solicit the appreciation herself. And yes, if I walk down in a brand new dress for the chasana we're going to or the wedding, and I walk down and you say, oh, you look fantastic. That feels great. Whereas if I came down and you're like, okay, let's go, and I say, what do you think of my new dress? And you say, oh, you look fantastic. The first one is an A+. This one is a B, maybe even a B+ or an A-, but it feels so good. So if it's okay with you, husband dear, obviously don't talk about this in the middle of a conflict. You're talking about this when you're set aside time to have a pleasant conversation. If it's okay with you, dear, let's try it. There's nothing to lose. And, the woman who taught the class, Leah Richheimer, don't say who it is. I'll tell you why in a second. The woman who taught the class gave us this advice. And she said that a lot of women try it or whatever, and it feels awkward at first or whatever, but then it goes in the flow and a woman finally feels the contentment that she desperately needs because a woman needs to be appreciated. So I hope you don't mind and hope we can do it together. And like that. So that would be my advice to you. Then the reason I said don't say Leah Richheimer is because a little bit, you have to use your own judgment. But like if your husband comes and he brings you a big bouquet of flowers, you're like, oh, thank you so much, dear. And he said, yeah, the rabbi told me I should bring them to you. You're like, oh, thanks a lot. So you have to be careful what you share with your husband about like your techniques of like, he does something, you say, oh, thank you so much. And he's like, oh, you're welcome. And he feels great. And you're like, yeah, Leah Richheimer told me I should thank you more. It's like, oh, it just takes all the wind out of the sail. Okay, good. What you got for me, Gila?
Okay. Aliza asks, doesn't the prompt method sound a little childish? If I feel like my husband wouldn't respond well because of this, should I not even try this method?
Good question. So yeah, it's a little childish, but it's not childish as in bratty or baby or throwing a tantrum. It's childish as in like sometimes, you're with your husband or whatever, and you're checking out of the restaurant or whatever, and they have these, lollipops that you used to get when you were a little kid, and you go, oh, whatever. And your husband says, ugh, and he buys you this idiotic 25-cent. Is that possible to get a lollipop for 25 cents? He said, but whatever. He pays $3 for this stupid thing that's in the shape of a bear because you love bears or whatever. Is that childish? Absolutely. But the sweetness that's yummy, there's a yummy childishness to it. So this is the same thing. It's like, yeah, it's a little bit childish, but you will see. And I first of all, I have thousands of students who I've taught this to, whatever. And there is just a sweetness that's available. There's this little smile at the crook of your husband's, whatever. He might be like, yes, it was delicious, but there's some kind of a pride in it because do you know how good it feels? Like you go like this, you pull the bow back and right, and you let it, and it goes right into the red bullseye, and it hits that bullseye. It's such a satisfying feeling. So even though, okay, let's say it was an automatic, thing, and somebody else tilted it and steered it and put it in the right direction, it still feels good. Okay, so he didn't think of it himself and he didn't, whatever. It's that pleasure you are giving your husband. So call it childish, call it whatever you want, but it's yummy and it will bring you closer. You will see. This is this thing you will try and you'll be like, oh my goodness, I can't believe it. But remember, wait to pick your strategies, because I'm going to get to 5 other strategies. And one of those you might be, oh, that would so work with my husband. And if this one doesn't go clunk yet, just wait. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, wow. Okay. So Daniela asks, I feel like us women do everything already. Now we have to work to get our own appreciation met.
I hear. These are such good questions. Who asked this question?
Daniela. And the rest of the question is, how is this fair? All I want is some spontaneous, genuine appreciation.
Oy. I like the first half. Okay, I'm just only going to do the first. This is the first half of the question. So here's the thing. Now I've completely forgot the question. What was the question again? Say it again.
Daniela asks, I feel like us women do everything already. Now we have to work to get our own appreciation too. How is this fair? All I want.
Okay, wait. Let me just take that part. Okay. I love that question. Here's the thing. It's so annoying that, well, maybe some people hate shopping for clothes, but okay, I'll go with the majority of women like shopping for clothes, myself not included. But anyway, but let's say, most women like shopping for clothes, and it's like saying, why do I always have to be the one to shop for clothes? It's so annoying. Well, you're getting clothes, or I'm trying to think of something else. Somebody would like, why do I have to lift up the fork to eat? It's so annoying. Why do I always have to be the one to do? I'm thinking of the worst examples ever, but I'm just saying, in other words, you're doing this. Yes, it's extra work in your relationship work and in your, interacting with your husband. It is extra work there, but you're the one who's getting 1,000% of the benefit. You're the one who's feeling the pleasure of getting the appreciation you need. So is it work? Yeah, but it's work for yourself. It's like, well, it's so annoying to have to eat the ice cream cone, or, like you're getting pleasure from it. So that's the first. And the second half of the question she asked was, she just wants spontaneous. Okay.
Right.
So, we covered, if you haven't watched last week's show, watch last week's show. I don't remember the night, but whatever. Watch last week, the one before, because I talked about surprise. We have a whole section here about, how spontaneous surprises and appreciation and whatever is like, we think that's the ultimate, and really spontaneity is fine in relationship. I'm not trying to tell you it isn't, but I'm just saying that in order, if you know what your deep need is, and again, we're working on that, but if you know what your needs are, you can have a better chance of getting them met. If it's spontaneous and he's just giving, one time he gives you flowers, one time he helps you with the dishes, one time he does it, but you don't know what really goes clunk with you, you're lost. And the same is true here. Spontaneous appreciation from a man who is, God made us with a bottomless bucket of appreciation, and he made men who are incapable of filling our bucket and knowing how. And their DNA is missing. They've got a chip missing in you get to that part of the computer and it's gone. It's like empty. There's nothing available there. So for you to wait for that spontaneous thing is like torturing yourself. It's sabotaging your own happiness. So understanding this and understanding that your husband wants more than anything in the world, from the deepest insides, the thing that drives him the biggest and the most importantly in the world is to make you happy. He just doesn't know how to do it. As we talked about in prior chapters, a woman is saying, I need this, I want this, I need this, I need, whatever. And he never can make her happy. Whereas if she puts all the wants over there and she takes all the wants here and she tells him, okay, these are my 3 needs. These are my 2 needs. I just need you to be there for me when I need you. Whatever it is, she knows what they are, and she expresses them to him. Now he can make her happy. And if him making her happy is the greatest, listen up. Him making her happy is the greatest satisfaction in fulfilling his purpose in this world. It's everything to him. It's what he was put on the planet for, is to make you happy. And it may not look like it. And the reason is because he doesn't know what your needs are. And he can't make you happy without showing. A woman can't be happy without getting the appreciation she needs. And the only way she gets that is by soliciting it from him. I don't know why God set it up this way, but I know this works. Like, it works. We have I just read you from Chazal, the exact sources that say this is the way the woman created, and this is guaranteed to make you happy. Try it. This is just one of those things you got to try. Okay, go ahead, Gila. What else you got for me?
So Shayna says, this method takes a lot of confidence, which unfortunately I lack. I'm also very shy. How can I try this method when it's so opposite of my personality? Looks like there's a lot of vulnerability there.
Yeah, that was very good. And thanks for being so sincere it was a very good question. So this method may not be the best for you. Do we have other methods that work very well with shy people or people who aren't, forceful or whatever? So stay tuned for the future ones. But in essence, though, it might not be so hard for you to do. It might be easier than you think to say, I worked hard on the soup. You had said this other person's question, and maybe I didn't even answer that about, he just took it as a complaint and took it the opposite way, So, it could be that you have to either communicate to your husband in the private moment that you're going to start doing this. That's one thing. But also, if your husband starts hearing it as a complaint, you can start off and say, right now, I'm not complaining. I'm about to say something so that you'll say, aren't you wonderful? Okay. Separate it out, right? But right at the time. But anyway, in terms of try the other methods we're going to get to. But for this one, I think you'll find that if you were to say something like, let me just think of something that would be, might not be so hard for you to say. It might be like, aren't you glad that I picked your clothes up from the cleaner? You might have just done it and hang them in this closet, and okay, that's it. And you feel like a schmata, but whatever. That's your job. You're the wife. Okay, maybe it is your job. Maybe it's his. But whatever. But let's say you guys separated your chores, and that was your chore, and you did it. That's kind of like an annoying thing to not get feedback. But he's like, oh, I put your shit. You could even just say, I put your dry cleaning in the closet. And they'll say, oh, thanks. That might not be enough. It's got to be a little bit enough. But he might not have, if you hadn't said that, he might not have even registered. He just goes in and puts his shirt on, thank you, just announcing what you did might be a way to start with this. But again, I think you should stay tuned for the future one. Good question. Okay, good. Go ahead. What's next?
Okay, great. So Yael asks, can any of these methods backfire on our husbands? Like, should we be wary of which, sorry, I got lost there, of which one we should choose, or will they all work, just some better than others? For example, with the prompt method.
You're talking about the methodologies, the different strategies? Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then she continued with, for example, with the prompt method, can my husband get upset that I'm prompting it? Even if we talk about it prior, maybe you will feel so unnatural to him that he'll get upset.
Right. So this is something, you have to use your Bini Sarah, both to choose which strategy is going to work the best, to mix and match them, to try different ones. It's really trial and error. Like you'll try a couple of things that might fail, and then you just have to keep pushing forward, because this is not an option, ladies. This is not like, well, this didn't work for me, I'm going to go into the next chapter. This is not an option. You must get the appreciation a woman desperately needs. You must. And I give you full permission to go full throttle. And Chazal give us full permission. This is part of our 3,000-year-old bulletproof track record of success that works to make contentment in a marriage. And the husband needs to give you that appreciation. He doesn't know how, but he needs to give it to you. That's his job. And he just doesn't know how. And you need to you need to figure out a strategy, take a combination of these strategies to get the appreciation you need. It's a very good question, but stick with it. You will get somewhere. And if it bothers him, you need to say, I realize that this is awkward. I also feel awkward, and I feel unworthy and undeserving of your appreciation. But I know the way God made women is that they need appreciation, and they need a lot of it. I don't know how to get it, and I don't want to say, okay, you take care of it. And I'll, there could be some guy who has, who ticks off every day. He lives his life with charts and like, okay, compliment my wife today. Oh, and he thinks of something, 1 in a million. But everybody else, they're just not going to give us the appreciation it goes over their head. They're not going to give us the appreciation to the extent we need or the quantity we need. Okay, let's go ahead with the next question.
Okay, beautiful. So Hani asks, I'd love to ask you for some practical tips regarding how to express my appreciation for my husband more. I know it sounds like
expressing it to him or getting appreciation?
No, expressing it to him, actually, she's asking.
Okay, we'll cover that here, but everybody should understand this completely the opposite of what we're talking about on the show today. Okay, so go ahead.
Well, it sounds like she wants to appreciate her husband more. I know it sounds like a simple thing to do, but it's actually very hard for me. I feel like I sound fake when I'm being super mushy.
Fine. Okay. So the biggest way to show appreciation, there's only 2 words that you need. Thank you. Say it 10 times a day. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. It's women need very specific, men do also, and it's nice to be mushy. And even if you feel awkward feeling mushy, I'm sure there's part of him that's filling part of him that he didn't, he didn't even know he had. So I would continue doing what you're doing unless it's too bizarre, but you could just say thank you to him. That doesn't work for women because women are so busy doing so many things. We need more specific praise. And that's why it's so hard for a man, because he doesn't need the kind of specific praise as much. He still does. You need to say, I really thought that was amazing how, the kids were fighting and how you got them to stop fighting and apologize to each other. It's like I was watching this thing and I just am so in awe of you. That you don't know how that builds a man and makes him, proud of himself, and it makes him try harder and makes him feel fulfilled in his life because he's made you happy sincerely and deeply. So, they do need specific praise. But if you're giving a hard time appreciating him, just stick with the words thank you for a bit until it gets more natural. And I wouldn't worry about that it's not natural. It may not be, you may not be used to it. A lot of our married life isn't natural or whatever. It's like where steam is coming out of our ears and whatever. We're like, it's okay. I forgive you for what you did. Whatever, so a lot of it's not natural, but it's the right thing to do. And what should guide us is God is watching us. What would God want me to do right now? Like what is the righteous thing to do, the best thing to do, how can I behave, in God's eyes, to bring pride to God, that he says, oh, this is a good Eved Hashem. This is a good somebody who's trying to do my will and do the right thing. What can I do now? And if we can live our life that way, it's tall order and stuff. We fail miserably, except me. No, we all fail miserably at that all the time. But that should be our goal: is each day to make God proud. And if we keep that in mind as we're moving forward, we'll more and more self mastery, so that we can be the person we want to be rather than reactive and that's, if we had to choose, if we could step back out of our life and choose how we want to be, we probably want to say it's okay, but meanwhile we act in ways, and as the years go by, if we use our wisdom and we continually learn and grow in Torah and study, the more we grow and gain self-mastery, we can we can be that person and give a lot of pride and nachas to Hashem. And that's really what we're striving for. Very, very good questions today, ladies. Wow, beyond. Okay, let me give you some homework. And by the way, you like the show and you click and like and whatever, if you do all that, more people can see the show. We appreciate it very much. Okay, let me just think. The homework for this week. So I don't want you to try this exercise. That was the first thing I was going. So maybe just, let's do something outside of the box from this homework. So sort of not having to do with the show, but just say thank you to your husband once this week, just because she asked that question and it's in my mind. But just once this week, say thank you to your husband from the heart, like from the depths of your soul, not just, oh, thanks, but like work it up before you open your mouth, work it up in your kishkas, in your gut, whatever that, wow, if he hadn't, brought the milk home, I'd have to go get it, or I'd have to, and I've got my slippers on already, and I want to get into shoes and a coat and whatever and go out and get the milk. And, so work it up in your mind and in your heart to appreciate him, and then say it one time this week. Okay, this is Leah Richheimer for the Ladies Talk Show. Looking forward to seeing you next week.